Hi friends, welcome back to another video. I'm super excited to make this video today because I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and it's about easily my favorite part of grad school, which is the planetarium. So here at UW, the astronomy department offers free planetarium shows to the public every single Friday, and I've been super lucky to be a part of volunteering and giving some of the shows every single week, and I love it so much that I wanted to share it with you all. So I'm going to give like a brief little tour of the planetarium, put some projections up, and it's gonna be awesome. So let's go. So here's a very brief overview of the whole planetarium, and it's right here located on campus just across the courtyard from my office. There's like a 30-foot, I think it's like 30 feet or so, like wide dome, and there are all these projectors placed around the entire planetarium. So that way you can see everything projected above you as if you were actually floating through space, and the level of detail in the projections is chef's kiss. It's amazing. One super cool fun fact about our planetarium here, it was actually voted by the Seattle Times as the #2 must-see places when you are in Seattle, which is absolutely incredible. So if you're ever in Seattle and you need something to do and it's like a Friday night, come see me at the planetarium or come see all of us. It's totally free. I think you just have to sign up in advance, although the planetarium does take donations. So if you're feeling generous and you want to support the department, you can donate as well. It helps us out a lot. And also if you want to give us feedback, that also helps us out a ton too. But it seems like we're doing a great job if it's voted #2 best things to do in the city. So here's a full walk around of the entire planetarium. So as I mentioned earlier, there are these projectors which will help showcase everything up here on the dome once it's on. And then there are also these lights all around above the chairs and also below the chairs as well. When the shows actually happen, we do turn them off so that way you get the best experience possible. Although depending on the shows, whenever we give shows to elementary school students, some of them are a little scared of the dark, which is okay. So depending on the audience, we sometimes dim the lights and sometimes we don't. But if you come in the nighttime shows, which are meant for all ages, then the lights usually are off. But I do like to ask just in case what everyone's comfortability level is. So also making our way around, there is this model of the sun, the moon, and the earth here. So I think it actually rotates and lights up. Hold on a second. Yeah, okay. So here is the illuminated sun, and if you just turn it, is that the right way to do it? Hold on, that is not the right way to do it. So you can actually rotate this to show how the earth passes from the sun and how the moon passes in front of the earth. So these are just a couple little props that we like to do for some demos. For example, I like to use these whenever demonstrating how we see eclipses. We have these moon rocks and asteroids that we like to pass around, and some of the students like to tell me that it feels like space. I don't know that I feel that, but they do, so they must be smarter than I am. We also have this other prop here, which is a demo of the celestial sphere and the Earth on the inside. So you can see all of the constellations printed out here on the top, and also a grid of the celestial sphere. And then here in green is the Milky Way band all the way across. So some people like to find their star signs on here, which I think is really funny. Not only that, but we have this other globe of Mars. A lot of people like to ask me where some of the rovers are, and the honest truth is that I don't know the answers. I just kind of make things up and people believe me. Whoops. But it has the ice caps up here, as well as a lot of the ridges. You can also find some volcanoes. Olympus Mons is also on here somewhere. But these are some things that we like to keep around the planetarium just to keep the audience entertained. And if they have any questions, we can do quick little demos with these. And of course, what kind of planetarium would we be if we didn't have NASA stickers? Now that we've had that super brief tour, I'm going to fire up the planetarium and let's see some projections. And I'll kind of walk you guys through how I organize my own planetarium shows and different ways that you can with the software that we have here. So I'm back. The planetarium is all fired up. All of the projectors are on right now, and you can probably see behind me there are a couple of stars in the background. But before I get there, I wanted to briefly talk about the tool that we use to showcase everything that we have here in the planetarium. So we use this amazing visualization tool. It is called Worldwide Telescope. It is not actually a telescope, but it is a software that allows us to be able to showcase a lot of different astronomical sources that are out there. And all of the images here are taken from a multitude of different surveys and space telescopes from like NASA, the ESA, all of those combined. And we are able to basically travel through cosmic time and space without actually having to go to space. And I have to say that the resolution on a lot of the images here in the planetarium are absolutely amazing. Not only that, you can take some of the guided tours that it already has like built within the system. So I believe there's like a solar system tour as well as like a Milky Way tour, but you can create like your own tours and your own different shows if you want to have or present your own planetarium. It's a free tool, completely available to the public, and I highly recommend that you check it out and you can see some of the amazing things that they have to offer on there. You can curate your own show, make it very unique to you. You can add music, you can time different things, you can orient all the planets around or galaxies around any way that you see fit. You can take images from Google, you can project them on there. You can give Worldwide Telescope certain coordinates where whatever object is that you're looking at, and it'll zoom in and find it for you. So it's absolutely amazing to have this right at your fingertips. And if you are an astronomer or if you're just curious and want to get to know more, I highly recommend that you check it out. Enough blabbing about Worldwide Telescope. Let's actually see what it has to offer. Very briefly, because I know if I don't explain this, I'm gonna get comments about it. This is an Xbox remote. And this Xbox remote actually controls the entire planetarium, so I don't have to sit behind a computer and talk in front of a screen. I can actually like walk around and like interact with the audience that I have around me. And also, like, as somebody who grew up gaming, it's very, very comfortable to maneuver everything with this. So yes, I have an Xbox remote for that reason. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so if you are viewing Worldwide Telescope through your laptop or computer, this is exactly what you'll see like on the home screen. So in the top like toolbar, it has an assortment of different modes that you can view things in. So for example, the solar system, and you can actually like click on all of the planets or sun here, and we'll actually like locate everything on this like background map here. So as you can see, if I click on Saturn, that little circle is where Saturn is. Believe me, I'll get there in a second. Hold your excitement. Everything is like centered around our solar system, which is in like this tiny like little cluster here. Not only that, but in this like side toolbar, if you are all the way zoomed out, then you can actually put some different like overlays. So for example, a very popular one that I like to start with is the constellations, because like I said, everyone likes to try to find their star signs. So if you turn on like the constellation, like names and figures, they will all appear here. So this is what it looks like projected on the planetarium. How freaking cool is that? Do we have any Virgos here? You can actually add like constellation pictures as well. I usually like to start giving planetarium shows with the constellations. I like to mention the fact that this was the predominant use of wayfinding, is looking at the stars in the sky. I also like to remind people that like indigenous civilizations were the original wayfinders and how they use the stars to navigate their way across the earth, across the sea. I also like to give a little reminder that here in Seattle, we are on indigenous lands, and just like to thank the tribes for letting us be here and in this space. But if you don't want to see the constellations all the time, then you can just like get rid of the overlays. One thing is I also haven't like played around with a lot of the different layers that they have here, because it makes things incredibly complicated for me, and I just like to keep things simplistic and stick with the solar system. But without much further ado, let's actually get into the solar system. How I like to start planetarium shows is starting on the small scale and then zooming out. So typically I also like to ask if anybody recognizes what they see in the background, because projected here is actually the night sky. So a lot of people notice Orion's belt, But after that little demo, then I like to zoom in here because as I mentioned before, everything is centered around our own solar system. So if I turn on like the planetary orbits, it might look a bit more familiar. And if we, oh my goodness. Well, I guess that's show business. I don't think the planetarium is very well calibrated today, but that's a work in progress. But if you zoom in, then you can actually see the entire solar system. And I know that a lot of people get dizzy when I do this, but I think it's fun. So at the center, you have the sun, of course, and then outside you have the rest of the planets. And you can actually zoom into all of them and see the planetary surfaces. And I like to spend a little bit of time talking about each of them. So I start with the sun. So if we zoom into the sun here she is. The sun is a girl to me. But yeah, how cool is this? You can actually kind of like see some, what looks to be a bit like solar. Oh my God. Okay. Should I cut that out or leave it? I'm gonna leave it. You can actually see some of like the hot spots on the surface of like solar storms and what could be depicted to be like solar flares. So this is just an example of like how up close and personal you can get with some of the planets. And whenever this planetarium is actually well like calibrated, it looks, the orbits look a lot better and you don't see that like overlapping that you're getting like kind of right up about here. You can bump your way through the other planets. So, and it goes in like planetary order from closest to the sun. So the next planet would be Mercury. Yay, here he is. And I just think it's so cool that you can zoom like so close to the surface and get like these really cool images of what the surface looks like. And you can see a lot of like the asteroid and like meteor impacts on the surface as well. Here's where I usually like to tell kids that these rocks are meteors. I actually have no clue if they are meteors or not, okay? But why else would they be here? Nobody has told me otherwise. And even if this is from Earth, like everything in the solar system is made up of the same stuff. And then if we bump to the next planet here, we run into Venus. But yeah, I just think it's like really cool. You can also see the sun in the background. So like if anybody were giving like a demo on like transits, you could pretend this is like a transiting planet, I guess. But a lot of people like to see Jupiter. And one really cool thing about Worldwide Telescope is that it actually has Jupiter's Galilean moons orbiting around it as well. So if you wanted to talk about them, like Ganymede, for example, you totally could. You can also zoom in and see them in the background. Oof, the computer is all over the place, y'all. A lot of people like to point out the big red spot, and it just so happens that she's right here. Another cool thing about Worldwide Telescope is that you can actually set one of the controls to be in real time. So like how the planets are actually orbiting, and there will be like a darker side or like a shadow side that you can't see. That's because relative to Earth, we would not be able to see that part of Jupiter. I think Worldwide Telescope does an incredible job of showcasing the level of detail that each of the planets have. Here's Saturn coming up, and you can actually zoom into some of his rings here. It doesn't necessarily look like icicles, but you know, it's still pretty nonetheless, right? I like to show the planets like one by one, just because everyone likes to see where we are within the solar system and what it looks like. You can actually show some of the asteroids and meteors as well if you turn on this setting, which I think makes this also look super cool. You can whiz around through the asteroids and meteors, all of these asteroids which live in the asteroid belt. And I think that this is like so pretty, like if you were to slow things down and kind of whiz through here, like look at that, absolutely gorgeous. A lot of people at this point usually demand to see what is outside the solar system, so we can totally do that. If we zoom all the way out here, so we are leaving the solar system and we are now entering into new territory, which is outside of the solar system. All of these dots that you see moving around are actually nearby stars that are within our home galaxy, the Milky Way. And if you were to zoom out like far enough, then you get the entire Milky Way here. Isn't that so cool? And if you were to zoom in, then it would start zooming in to where we live in the Milky Way, which is like this outer part of the spiral arm. And you can like orient it in an assortment of ways. The computer is showing 2 slices because it's not calibrated. You can also change the Milky Way settings. So if you want to see like a volumetric Milky Way that kind of has like a flat plane with the bulge at the center, you can look at this as well. Also very pretty. I like to show this because it looks more 3D, whereas the other one is kind of just like a picture. And if you zoom out of the Milky Way, then everything moving about here are an assortment of different galaxies. You can start to see other galaxies nearby, maybe not nearby, but within our local universe. And you can also kind of like fly around through here and see what else you find. I think this setting is super cool because you can see like galaxy clusters and how they're arranged. And all of these are taken by like survey data too, which I find to be absolutely amazing that they were able to like implement this into the entire system. But then if you zoom out far enough, you can see the entire like cosmic web and the entire visible universe that we know of. And a lot of people like to ask why it's oriented that way. And the answer is because, like I said earlier, it's centered to where we are. So from like Earth's perspective and the Milky Way's perspective. And not only that, from where we are in the Milky Way, it's very hard to see anything across the Milky Way because there is a very dense population of stars. Not only that, but the black hole that's at the very center sends out these like powerful jets, stellar stripping happening, supernovae occurring. And it makes it very, very bright, too bright for us to be able to observe anything on the other side. So that's why these like top and bottom areas are very dark. It's not that there's nothing there that exists, but simply the fact that we can't observe due to it being super bright. But if you zoom all the way out, then you get this, which is a cosmic microwave background. So this is like the first ray of light that we get after the Big Bang. So it has the entire map here from a survey, obviously. A lot of people like to ask me about multiverse theories or if there is a multiverse. Again, I have no idea. I just kind of give them the best answer that I have at the moment. But if you zoom all the way back in, then we come back to our solar system. So very cool and a very useful tool. I love being in here. Not only that, when the grads are bored, we like to have karaoke. And this makes a very good background for karaoke at times. Maybe if you're not spinning so fast. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this gives you a better perspective into a little bit of what my life is like on Fridays and like the cool things that I get to do and share with the public and share with you all. If you like this video, then feel free to give it a like and a comment. Also subscribe if you want to see more videos coming soon. I can totally do more about the planetarium. I love being here, as you can probably tell. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.